Good morning. It is Sunday, February 2nd, Super Bowl Sunday, and this is Dr. Matthew Johnson out in the backyard with my beautiful fiance, Cynthia Kreitzberg. And we're out here, and behind Cynthia, by the way, is Waha. That's the green belt we talk about behind our house. And if you go south on this green belt, it goes all the way down to the Mount Rainier National Forest. So anyway, we are here because Cynthia had a wonderful idea to answer some questions that keep coming up while we're doing research in the Southern Oregon habituation area. So Cynthia, take it away.
We get constant questions saying, oh, you're putting the food bowls out on the ground. How do you know they're not being hit by small critters? That's just being hit by small critters. There's no proof that it's Sasquatch hitting your bowls. Well, the fingerprints are pretty good proof, I think. But so it occurred to me when Matt was down in SOA this last week and we were getting those same questions over again. My son happened to mention that he'd seen 2 raccoons on our back porch one night. And it occurred to me that if I put a bowl out in our backyard here, those raccoons would smell the peanut butter and they would show up and they would hit the bowls, or the bowl in this case. And I would have an opportunity to do a visual comparison of what it looks like after small critters hit the bowl, as opposed to what we are seeing in the gifting bowls at SOA. So I did that on a Monday night, which wasn't real well thought through. Got up Tuesday morning in the dark, took pictures as best I could of the aftermath. I have to leave for work fairly early, so the pictures were taken in the dark.
Where do you work, babe?
I work in Olympia for a law enforcement agency.
Okay.
Anyhow, so we're redoing it. Oh, the other thing that happened is people said, well, where are your trail cams? And I started to answer, well, we don't use trail cams because we've established that the Sasquatch can see the infrared and they shy away from it. And then I said, wait a minute, that's not what this is about. The small critters don't care. So last night we left a video camera in the window of our house and set it up here, pointing out here on the grass.
The window of the house. Okay.
Window of the house, right there in the corner.
Right over here. We set it up in this window right there. Okay.
And it's got the infrared night shot capability. So we put the bowl here with the camera focused on it. I had, let's see, 8 sandwich halves, 2 sticks of celery with peanut butter in them, 4 raw eggs and 4 hard-boiled eggs, and 2 molasses cookies in the bowl. Now those of you that are familiar with the photographs of afterwards at SOA, there's almost always food left. There's almost always items in the bowl. But if you look here, the bowl is totally empty. In SOA, if there's been anything removed from the bowl, it's stacked neatly on either side. Yet here we've got this scatter pattern that goes away from the bowl quite a ways. Right off the tip of Matt's shoe there, you see a pile of egg yolk. Little bits where something obviously was chewing away at the center of the boiled egg on the ground. We don't ever see that in SOA. We don't ever see piles of crumbs. We don't see bits of food around the bowl, where you're seeing here. These eggs smashed and scattered all over. And if you see, hi Mitch, if you see they get smashed, they aren't broken cleanly. The hard-boiled egg, again, yeah, you're no help. Come on.
Mitch wants to cut in on the filming action. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mitch, one of our big cats, who's about twice the size of Atlas, the official mascot of Team Squatch in USA.
And a pain.
And a pain.
But you can see, I mean, you can see that it's been nibbled at, it's been broken up into pieces. If you look at the celery, it looks like it's been licked totally clean. It's gonna be very fascinating to watch the video we took last night and see what did hit.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe my cat hit it too. We'll see. But this is so different from what we see in SOA. You know, we've got a lot of photographs over time. And the big difference is little critters are opportunistic. They would not leave molasses cookies, berry-filled Fig Newtons, apples, peanut butter sandwich halves, they would not leave them behind because they know if they've got a food source, it may not be there again the next day. They would take everything just like it's been taken here. There's no sandwiches left. There's no sandwich that's been broken open
and licked,
and the center licked out. And I've been scanning down the hillside here. Those sandwiches were not dragged out and left. They were consumed. And that is the primary difference with the little critters, is their opportunism and the fact that they know they have to take advantage of this kind of feast while they can.
Okay. So, to be objective, can't deer leave fingerprints on bowls like they do in SOA, or raccoons?
Raccoons might, but they'd be much smaller than anything that we've found. The ones we found the one time were about the size of my little finger.
Yeah.
Which is why you and Michael Beers decided it was probably the toddler who had actually touched that bowl.
Yep.
The handprint that we found on my car window
was bigger than my hand.
Right, and it was only this section of the hand, but there was something different about the way the thumb attached.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that my fingerprint guy commented on.
Fingerprint guy from the law enforcement agency.
20 years experience reviewing quality assurance on criminal fingerprint cards. The man's been at this for an awful lot of years, and they've been doing palm prints now for almost 10 years. Anyhow, he took one look at that and he said, not human. The fingerprints we've given him, he says that what I do is I throw it up and I say, okay, this is a human print. Now convince yourself why it cannot be. And he said 70% of the time I convince myself it's not human. But he says I've got that 30% of the time I can't 100% convince myself, so I'm still looking at it. That's how thorough this man is and how unwilling he is to just make a, knee-jerk response. He knows what we have, but he really is stepping himself through the process of validating it.
Okay, so to summarize, for the people watching this, maybe for the very first time just coming across us on the internet and trying to figure out what we're doing, the reason why we're filming this is because when I report from SOA, the Southern Oregon Habituation Area, those people see the bowls and ask why don't you have cams up there? Critters could be hitting it. And we don't put cams up there because trail cams are squatch repellent. It keeps the squatches away. And then they go, well, then you can't prove that it's not little critters hitting the bowl. And then we say, oh yeah, we can, because when little critters hit the bowl, they clean the entire bowl out and they scatter the food all over the place, and you never ever see anything like that in SOA. And in SOA, as Cynthia pointed out earlier, they'll eat what they want out of the bowl and leave the rest, and it's very neat and clean.
I think this is just a really nice visual that people can look at and understand. Because if you haven't grown up, like I have, with little critters chewing through my backpack to get to the Mylar sealed peanuts, you don't understand how persistent and how voracious they can be. They look at those huge bowls full of food and say, well, yeah, it would make sense that little critters would leave some behind. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not how they operate.
Okay. Any last words of wisdom before we sign off, babe?
Absolutely. Go Seahawks.
Go Seahawks. That's right. Super Bowl Sunday. Sorry, Broncos. You're going down. Thanks, babe. This was great.